Hey, how's it going? My name is Jaquavius Render. I'm a student at Excelsior College, and I'm playing the role as a cybersecurity consultant today. So I'm going to start off with my presentation. So this is, of course, my first slide. So let's move on. So this is my cybersecurity proposal outline. So the purpose of this cybersecurity proposal is the client, yourself, you want to know the considerations that should be taken into account when trying to do business in China. And this is a great topic because a lot of companies they think about expanding, and a lot of times when they expand, they try to expand over into foreign territory. So it's good to know what you're getting into before you make these drastic changes. So this is my outline. So the outline is we're going to discuss human-based risks. We're going to discuss cybersecurity legislation, benefits that comes along with expanding going into foreign territory. And this will also coincide with the cybersecurity frameworks. And then we're going to do the conclusion. So human-based risk. One human-based risk is communication. That's a big issue when it comes to expanding over into foreign territory. And communication issues arise from language barriers. So especially when people aren't fluent in a certain language, it creates issues when you're trying to communicate your issue over the phone, or when you're trying to purchase services or products over the phone, or things of that sort. So language barriers can cause issues because it can delay the response time for service calls. It can cause customers to be frustrated, and which can also affect your customer satisfaction surveys because they aren't getting the customer service that they feel that they deserve because of the language barriers, because people aren't as fluent in the English language over in China as they would be for an American-based company that's operating in America right now. So then next we have human resources. Human resources is a very important aspect of the success of an organization. With human resources, this is new to China. China just began implementing human resources recently in their companies. And a lot of people should know that human resources, they do a lot. They coordinate the hiring of employees, the firing of employees, paying the organization's taxes. They manage the budget. They coordinate trainings, implement new ideas that can make work efficiency better. So this is a big issue because China is just now getting implementing human resources, which means that when you first start to implement something different into an organization, you always have some things that go wrong in the beginning, and then you try to fix them later. So they're still in that process of trying to implement a new change that's going to take some time. Over in America, we're more so used to human resources being in our organization, so we know how they run. We expect different expectations when it comes to human resources. So that's something to take into mind. Another one is culture differences. And next to culture differences, I put the word slang. That also goes into language barriers, because with culture differences, some people use slang because that's what they grew up using, and that can create a language barrier as well, because there are words that foreigners might not know the meaning of that are used on a regular basis that people that are American would know the meaning because they've heard the words used before. And then the last human-based risk I want to focus on is red tape. So with red tape is a term that describes the work efficiency of getting a task or a job done. So this is different because, this is something to focus on too, because in America, We have our different way of doing things, and then in China they have their different way of doing things. And in most cases, they are not parallel. And this is an issue because it can affect the work output, it can affect supply and demand, it can affect your profits, it can affect a lot of things. So that's something to consider, especially if we have processes in America that make things go faster, and then in China, it's sometimes not the same. So next we want to focus on cybersecurity legislation. Some issues with cybersecurity legislation is that China wants to have control over internet regulations. So they filter everything that's going in and out of the internet that is within their borders. So that creates privacy issues. It can also cause issues if your company is based online, because those internet filters can affect your web applications as well. Then let's get to the storage of information systems in China's borders. But with the cybersecurity legislation laws, they require that foreign companies maintain their storage facilities on China's soil. So that creates issues because now you're forcing the company to move their storage information systems onto your borders, which now you have control over everything that's within your borders. So now that creates an issue because there is a possible chance that the information systems that are managed for that organization can be compromised. And then we want to discuss that also with this law, they're forced to use Chinese equipment and Chinese service providers. That could also affect the business because your company is probably used to doing things a certain way. They're used to having a certain company manage their information systems. They're used to having a certain company manage their virtual storage. So that creates an issue. And then the equipment, that's a big issue that you need to take in account, especially if your company uses certain equipment that pretty much produces your products or your service. You want to make sure that you're able to adapt over to that Chinese equipment and get the same output, so your customers are receiving the same product that they've been receiving before. And last with cybersecurity legislation is the fact that the Chinese government, they are very heavily involved when it comes to the enforcement of their cybersecurity laws. And this isn't something that we're used to in America because there aren't too many laws in America that are pretty much controlling the way that companies run their cybersecurity within their organization. There are laws, but they aren't as strict and as enforced until violations occur, and then that's when government can get involved on larger platforms. But with the Chinese government, they're involved in almost all information systems aspect within their borders. So that's something to take in mind as well. The security frameworks. These are also the benefits. So with doing business in China. So the older laws focus on more of the system and infrastructure. My bad, my laptop went out. So, but 1 second. Okay, we're back with part 2. I'm sorry about that, my computer went out, but we're gonna proceed as planned. So I'm going to talk about the security frameworks, which are also benefits with doing business in China. So with the security frameworks, the older laws focus on system and infrastructure security, which is not a bad thing at all because these are great attributes to have when it comes to cybersecurity laws. With the newer laws, they still included the system and infrastructure security, but they added on additional protections. The newer laws focus on improving national security and cybersecurity as a whole, or with more aspects of cybersecurity. For example, it focuses on protecting the rights of individuals, which takes me to my next bullet. This was done by with the Article 76.5. This article outlined the rights of individuals, and with the new cybersecurity laws, they wanted to make sure that the rights of individuals were protected, are protected. And this is important to you as a business person because you want to make sure that your clients feel comfortable with purchasing these products and services through your web applications because they have to put in their sensitive information. And you have to think about it that when you're expanding your business over to China, your clients now are going to be primarily Chinese, the clients that you're going to have over in China. So with that being said, you want to make sure that you're protecting their information, and China is ensuring that they're doing what they can do to make sure that the rights of their citizens are not compromised, and that's really a good thing. Because before, this wasn't always that way. Before, China was more so focused on control. They still are focused on control, but now they're also focused on their individuals and protecting them. And another thing about their security framework is they focused on improving better data management. And this has been done with, of course, having the information systems within their borders. And I know earlier we talked about how that can go against your company, but that's also a benefit with doing business in China as well, because you see that they want to protect the rights of their citizens, and you want to ensure that your clients are, protected as well. So, and then we get to the conclusion. The conclusion of we spoke about different things, but I want to sum everything up really quick. The cost of implementing better security controls is something that needs to be considered, because when you're dealing with doing business in a foreign country, you're going to need better security controls because your information now is mandated to be within the borders of China. So you want to make sure that it's protected at all costs. Increased cost to ship a product. This can be an issue because if your products are host in or if your products reside in your home base, which is America, and you have to ship your products now over to a foreign country, that can be an increase in cost. Then we get to the cost of training for the new equipment, because with the new cybersecurity laws, they force you to use their equipment over in China. And then supply and demand. This can also affect supply and demand when it comes to the resources in China. You're not sure they have adequate resources to keep up with your organization and their needs and desires. And then the invasion of privacy. The invasion of privacy is related to having to store your information systems within China's borders. The human-based risk. The human-based risks that we spoke about were human resources, red tape, communication barriers, things of that sort. The cybersecurity legislation. With cybersecurity legislation, we talked about them focusing more on better data management, improving cybersecurity within their borders, having those internet filters regulating internet within their borders, what goes in and what comes out. And then we spoke about the cybersecurity frameworks and how they were designed to now protect the rights of their individuals. My final proposal is that I feel is you should take all of these things into consideration, but knowing the things that I spoke about in this proposal, the negatives outweigh the positives. So with that being said, I would propose that the company expands over to the company. I propose that your company expand your business over to another country that has similar cybersecurity legislation laws that are parallel with those in America. The reason being is because you want to make sure that when your company has to adapt over to a new way of doing things, you want to make sure that adapting over is not a difficult process. And that is my final proposal. Thank you, and have a good